And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Word on the Street, which I suppose is a play on words in of itself, is a new game from Out of the Box Publishing. And Out of the Box Publishing publishes a lot of simple, interesting party and word games. But this is one of the best they've done. I really enjoy this game. It makes a good multiplayer team game, but it's just as well, I think, with two players, with really good components and just a lot of fun making words. It's a good idea. Let's take a closer look at the game itself. The board is quite a long one, and on the board, which looks like a road, on the median of the road are many of the letters of the alphabet. Now, not every letter is there. It's mostly just consonants and the consonants that are more common. For example, you don't see an X, you don't see a J. The tiles are really nice and thick, and they have pictures of the letters with various street signs on them, and I thought that was a nice touch. The theme here on the street is really just their put on top of a word game, but it's still a lot of fun. So you can play two players, or you can split people up into teams, and when it's one team's turn to go, they're going to take one of these cards and read one or the other side. Now, the green side is supposed to be easier, and the blue side is harder, but I haven't really found that it matters that much, at least with me. I suppose if I was working with kids, I would use just the green side. So, let's say, for example, it's my turn, and I get another word for pretty. A timer is turned over, giving me a certain amount of time, and I have to think of another word for pretty. So, for example, let's say I pick the word beautiful. I would take the B here and move it one towards me. B for beautiful. E, there's no E. A, no A. U, no U. T, I would move T towards me one space. I, F, move F towards me one side. U, no U, and then L towards me one side. So that's a pretty neat way. I'm trying to move these letters off the board, actually, on my turn. Now, I could have picked a different word. For example, if I had picked the word gorgeous, I'd have been G, O, R, G again, E, O, U, S, which is fewer letters, but I was able to move the G twice. Next turn, I might have a chance to move G off the board. Once a letter is moved off the board, it can no longer be moved. Now, when you're picking a word, you're going to try to pick a word that brings the most letters to your side, but at the same time, you might pick one that hurts the opponent. For example, something that can be plugged in. And the other team might say, oh, I don't know, a radio. And they're only picking the radio because they want to get that R back. Of course, I would have picked refrigerator, because refrigerator would have brought the R back even more. It would have brought it back two spaces. And so picking the words is not hard. If you look at these categories, an animal with spots or stripes, a department store, something that tastes sour or bitter, a team sport, even a hard one, something that's being wasted, something with a screen, a Greek or Roman god or goddess, you're not going to sit around and try to think of an answer and say it's so difficult, because answers will come to you very quickly. What's going to make it difficult is trying to pick it so that the right letters, because eventually some of these letters are going to be off the board on the different sides, and you'll have fewer and fewer letters to work with. So you're trying to pick words that use those letters. And you want to be as efficient as possible. When you're playing with teams, teams will go back and forth thinking of the words. Of course, you have the timer to deal with. And you have your opposing team, which might help you out by giving you really small words or words that won't help you out very much. And it's a lot more fun than I thought. I read the rules. I said, well, we'll see how this works. And it was an amazing experience moving these letters back and forth. The first person to get 8 letters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is the winner, and then the game is over. I'm not always a big fan of word games because the person with the better vocabulary will win. Obviously, someone with a better vocabulary is going to have an advantage in this game. However, it doesn't seem to matter that much, especially with a team setting, as you try to think of words that use as many of these tiles as possible. I like the quality of this game. It's supreme. The amount of category cards, as you can see, there is a ton of them, double-sided, and so you have plenty of time to play this game. And the fact that it works just as well with two players as it does in a different setting. With a large group of people, it has a really strong party feeling to it. You know, lots of laughter as you pick words and try to think of words. And there's a way you can challenge the other team if you think that they picked a word that's 2 words or a word that's spelled incorrectly. But that doesn't come into play as often as you think it might. It's just fun to try and think of that word and get those letters towards you. but it also can be played as almost a sober, thoughtful game between two players. Either way, it's a really enjoyable. It's one of the best games, as I said, that I've seen from Out of the Box in a long time. Great game. Check it out. Even if you're not a huge word game fan, you might find that this is one that will draw you in.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.